In my previous video, I talked about certain techniques, and I promised to talk more in detail about doing some activities that would help us to achieve more understanding of our undiscovered parts of self. Today, I like to talk about these steps. I'm going to talk mainly about 3 techniques that are important in achieving this goal. The first one is working on our dreams or dream journals. There are different views about the dreams and their roles. There are some groups of people believe that dreams have no meaning. There are some neuropsychologists believe that dreams are important in consolidating our memories. But there is still a very strong, acceptance of the role of dreams in psychology, especially in psychodynamic, psychoanalytic society, that dreams come from our unconscious. And they have messages for us that by understanding them, we can integrate them into our consciousness. So in order to work on our dreams, I encourage you to work on having a dream journal. So every day when you wake up, if you dream, remember any of your dreams, try to write it down with as much detail as you can. Try to put the details as well as the feelings as you were having during the dream. The sooner you do this after you wake up, the better it's going to work, because most of the time the dream's going to disappear from our memory the longer we wait. So having something right next to your bed would be very helpful. You can even record them like a voice memo if you want. Then when you write them down, you can start working on the meaning of the dream. There are different ways of interpreting dreams, and it's a very kind of comprehensive system. But look at them from this perspective, that each symbol has several layers of meanings. One level of it is very personal, and the other levels would be something we call it collective. What do I mean by that? For example, let's talk about certain symbols. One of the symbols that usually shows up in our dreams, let's say we dream of a person that is dead, one of our relatives. What does that mean? From one angle, it could mean personally, okay, what do I feel about that person? How much I miss that person, and maybe thinking about that person and experiencing that individual in my dream is giving me good feelings. Or it could also mean, are there any things about me that I haven't paid attention to for a long time? And it's time to think about it. So in another word, there are dead parts of me. And from collective aspect, we could also look at that the meaning of how do I think about death and dying? And, is that something that I should consider as far as where I am in life and where I'm going? And I could utilize that information. Maybe it could help me to motivate myself and to reach further. Another symbol that we can talk about, for example, would be snake. Snakes, again, could have personal meaning for us. That, for example, where I grew up, where there are a lot of snakes, have I had any traumatic experiences or good experiences with snakes in my life? And that could mean something. The snakes could also represent life force, consciousness, sexual drive, and also a very collective meaning could be that snakes have been really depicted in our history in the art forms. So it's very helpful to pay attention to them. For example, in yoga, there is a school of yoga, we call it Kundalini Yoga. The whole work of Kundalini Yoga is about awakening this sleeping snake, which resides at the base of our spine, and then helping it to rise all the way up to the head and uniting the snake all the way up to the head, which means connecting the unconscious to the consciousness, because the head symbolizes consciousness. Another symbol I can talk about possibly could be having dreams of flying. Again, flying has been something that we have been thinking about for thousands of years whenever we saw the birds. Now, flying on a personal level could mean, am I developing a good insight and perspective about my problems? Am I too ambitious? Maybe I'm flying too high, maybe I'm flying too low, and maybe I need to really try to look at my problems from a different perspective, and so on and so forth. So these were just some basic symbols that I talked about, like maybe, for example, seeing us going into a cave or a basement could mean gaining access to our unconscious. And what is in the basement? How do I feel? What do I see presenting itself in that basement or cave to me? Okay, so that was about the dream work. The other one that I would like to talk about is the second technique, is what we call it active imagination. This is something that Carl Jung devised, this technique, and said that dreams might not be enough, we might not remember enough of our dreams. So he encouraged us to sit down in a very relaxed way, but consciously, allowing different parts of us to talk to us, and let some images to come to us, and then have a fully imaginative dialogue with that part. See what that part has to tell us. We can ask questions and just have a full dialogue. A great example of this work is his own personal active imagination book that was published in 2008 under the name of The Red Book. I highly encourage you guys to read that book because it has a full scale of facing different parts of self and having dialogues with it. Beautiful work, beautiful work. The third technique I would like to talk about is the use of creative art. So here we try to use whatever media that you're comfortable with, drawing, painting, taking pictures, whatever that is. But the goal is not about creating a beautiful art. The goal is to express ourselves. So create an art form, then sit down with it and try to write this in a systematic way. The first part is the life of the image. What were you doing when you were creating this artwork? What kind of music were you listening? How was the weather? How were you feeling? You write it down. Then the second part would be to have an active imagination with different parts of this artwork. So if there are any shapes, any characters in that artwork, let's say a bird, a tree, or a shape, try to have a dialogue with that part. Imagine you're having a conversation with that part, and then write it down, like what we do in active imagination. And this will be very helpful in providing you with more information about the undiscovered parts of self. The third, part that you can do if you are in a group, I encourage you to do this, create your art and then attend, a group with friends that you feel comfortable with, and try to do the first two parts, the life of the image, read it for them, then have the active imagination, and at the last part, you ask the others to tell you what they see in your artwork. And that would help you to gain a better understanding of the collective part, that how collectively people connect to your deeper part and the undiscovered part of self. Well, as usual, I'm thankful for your time and watching this video. Please share your opinions and ideas with me regarding this and the other works we do, and hopefully I will work on more videos in near future. Have a great day.